Since her introduction in the 5th generation of gaming consoles, Lara Croft has become a digital landmark in the world of video games. Her first 5 adventures were staples of the time, showing that nothing could keep a good Tomb Raider down, except for the blunder that was the Angel of Darkness. The incredibly hyped failure of a PS2 title almost destroyed Lara's legacy, but publisher Eidos decided to give the reins from original developer Core Design to Crystal Dynamics, the team responsible for the Gex and Legacy of Kain series post Blood Omen 1. They set out to give new life to Miss Croft, updating the gameplay as well as Lara's design since she had become, to some, a bit more sex symbol than intended. The result was the first Tomb Raider reboot, Legend. Now, what makes talking about Legend such a big deal for the show is that this was the first time that Miss Croft graced Microsoft's first big console. And the last time. But we'll talk about that later. For now, let's see if this first reboot is, well, legendary. The story of Legend sees our Raider of Tombs in Bolivia, searching for a fabled stone that may be connected to the disappearance of her mother when they were crashed in the Himalayas when Lara was a child. However, she discovers that an old friend of hers named Amanda, who she thought had died during an expedition together, is alive, and searching for a sword similar to the one connected with Lara's mother. Knowing this, Lara must travel across the world, searching for the artifacts before Amanda grabs them in order to learn what happened to her mother. As someone who hasn't played many Tomb Raider games, the stories of the classic ones never really called out to me. Of course, that's not to say they're bad, they just didn't catch my attention. However, the story of Legend's pretty good, especially the aspect of Lara searching for what happened to her mother, since, as far as I know, you hear more about her father in other games, which I enjoyed.
Are we going to crash?
Starboard engine non-responsive.
Not unless it's absolutely necessary.
Stabilizer jam. Kicking rudder, losing altitude. We're going full nose down.
Close your eyes, darling.
I don't want to close my eyes.
Legend does play very similar to the original series, in which you go from each stage solving environmental puzzles, perform tons of platforming and acrobatics, and fight man and beast with Lara's trusty handguns. You'll also have other weapons you can pick up, like an assault rifle, shotgun, grenade launcher, and more, and use a little melee, as well as some new gadgets that will come in great use, like binoculars that allow you to scan the environments for objects you can interact with, an LED light for dark areas, as well as a magnetic grapple that can be used to swing and pull objects and enemies. The biggest and most welcome change, well, for me anyway, is how Lara controls. In the classic Tomb Raider games, tank controls was the name of the game, and while I didn't hate them, as I played a ton of Resident Evil, in a 3D environment I always tended to struggle with it. For Legend, Crystal Dynamics gave Lara full 3D movement, making pulling off all those acrobatic moves and feats easier to perform, and overall, just feel smoother to play. There are even a few quick-time events and some driving sections where Lara's on a motorcycle. These parts are simple, yet still fun. Lastly, no game about collecting artifacts and treasures would be complete without collectibles. Grabbing these out-of-the-way baubles will unlock extras such as costumes, concept art, and cheats. Truthfully, I had a great time playing Legend. The new controls are wonderful, and I enjoyed all the new gadgets and abilities Miss Croft learned. I really didn't have any problems with it, which, going by a lot of the games I've talked about here on Viridian Flashback, is always a nice change. Visually, Legend is a stunning upgrade from Lara's previous adventure. Lara's new look goes back to a somewhat classic design while giving it a well-needed update. Of course, some other things were toned down as well, but not too much from the original design. As for the other characters you'll come across in the game, they look just as good. Meanwhile, the locales you'll traverse are just as wonderfully detailed, from the dark caves, city skyscrapers, lush jungles, and more. For audio, the music is an amazing mix of orchestra and electronic, with a variety of different instruments that changes depending on what's going on in the game, something I always appreciate. Voice acting is just as well done, especially the actress portraying Laura at the time, Keely Hawes.
I don't like it. Are you sure you're reading it properly?
That thing is coming. You have a better idea?
The door might be trapped.
We're trapped. Oh, God!
As for the other cast, they do a splendid job. I especially like the parts where Laura's going back and forth with her two-man crew of Zip and Alistair on the walkie-talkie.
Days.
Well, hey, you're the one with the guns.
You can't blame me for knowing how to accessorize. Any word from Anaya?
She said she'd meet you at the statue in the marketplace.
At least we'll have our privacy.
Tomb Raider Legend is a fantastic reboot to the series and just a fun game overall. If you wanted to play the adventures of Lara Croft but found the controls a bit jarring in the classic series, this is a great starting point to begin. However, due to the fact it's on numerous consoles, the original Xbox version may not be the best choice, unless you're collecting for the big green. More likely, the Xbox 360 or PS3 version might be more common to find. Now, this run of Tomb Raider would go on for 2 more games, the anniversary reboot of the first game and Underworld. However, Legend is the only one that the big green ever got. This is most likely due to the release of the 360 and Microsoft phasing out the first console. Either way, it's always nice to see a Legend make a presence on the big green. Well, with another one down, this is the Dali Popka saying, as always, stay green, my friends. I'll see you next time.